A society to have order and to protect its citizens must have rules. Rules or laws are created and agencies are formed to enforce the rules. In the United States, you are innocent until proven guilty. Our judicial system, our courts, have the task of determining guilt. When guilt is found, the courts mete out the consequences. If we follow the rules of our society, we may never have to face the bar of justice inside a criminal courtroom. Join us now as we see an actual Lake County court in session.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Judge Miller. Could everyone, including visitors, please raise your right hands? Do each of you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and this you do under the pains and penalty of perjury? Thank you. You can put your hands down. Each of you has a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. When you get to the microphone, I need to know if you're under 18. I need to know if you're not a citizen of the United States, because if you're not a citizen, pleading today could affect your immigration status. I need to know if you're on probation or parole, because pleading today could affect your probation or parole status. If you plead today, you're giving up your right to have a trial and to have an attorney represent you on that trial. If I sentence you today to a criminal case, you have mandatory costs you will have to pay. You'll have to go to room 105 and either pay them or sign up for the payment plan. The least those mandatory costs can be is $273. That's the minimum. If you have a battery charge, the minimum is $700, and it goes up from there. All right, we're being tape recorded today and videotaped. Kenny Kester? Is that how you pronounce your? Coaster, I'm sorry, Mr. Coaster. Mr. Coaster, you've been charged with a second offense DUI and a refusal to submit to a breath test. You were unable to bond out, or you decided to go ahead and get the jail time over with?
I wanted to come and I thought I was going to be able to get an attorney, but wasn't able to.
All right, well, let's see what the state's recommending for the offer, see if you want to take it, and then we can talk about an attorney. Mr. Sandor?
Good morning, Your Honor. Brian Sandor for the record. The state's offer for Mr. Coaster is an adjudication of guilt. It's 12 months probation with no early termination with the following special conditions. As to count one, it's time served. It's a $2,000 fine.
Excuse me, oh, you were going on with other conditions.
Right.
Okay, go ahead. I heard the time served, and I said not.
He's completed the 10-day minimum for the second within 5.
Okay.
It's a $2,000 fine, 5-year driver's license revocation, level 2 DUI school with an alcohol evaluation and any treatment that's recommended. He may not consume any alcohol while on probation. His vehicle must be immobilized for 30 days. He's to comply with 2 years of the ignition interlock device and complete the victim awareness program. As to count 2, it's 12 months probation to run concurrent with count 1 and to complete 30 days of the scram monitoring device within the first 120 days of his probation. Additionally, the Leesburg Police Department is seeking $175 in cost of investigation, and although he will have the 5-year driver's license revocation, this would habitualize him as well.
All right, so your choice today is you can accept that fairly standard offer for a second DUI. You can say not guilty and talk to an attorney. If you can't afford a private attorney, I'll appoint the public defender. That's a fairly standard offer. We have very little wiggle room with DUIs.
I'll take it then. Guilty.
Okay, say it again.
Guilty, Your Honor.
You're going to take it. All right, and so you'd be getting out of jail today. Mr. Coaster, you'd have to report to probation today, and you'd have to go to the payment plan and sign up for the payment plan. And no driving, so how will you get home?
Oh, the bus.
You live near a bus stop? Okay. Do you have money in property to pay for the bus? Talk to the chaplain and see about getting some help. It's $1 each way. All right, thank you, sir. It'll need to be printed on the DUI. Next is William Hummel. And on deck we have Jorge Julian de Jesus. Mr. Hummel, you are charged with possession of paraphernalia. Mr. Sandor, do you have a recommendation on this one?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's offer is an adjudication of guilt with 6 months probation, payment of a $250 fine, completion of a drug evaluation and any treatment recommended, and providing 2 clean screens at random.
Okay, good call. All right, Mr. Hummel, you've heard the offer. The screens will be random because the substances you are allegedly using don't stay in your system as long as marijuana. So, are you accepting the state's recommendation?
I plead not guilty, Your Honor.
All right, after today, that offer may go away. Generally speaking, there's jail with substances other than marijuana.
I have
On
not-
January 12th, I stopped a Kia for driving with no lights on. I made contact with the driver and learned his license was suspended. Was that you?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so somebody else is the driver. During the course of the stop, consent was obtained from the driver to search. Incident to the consent, a cut-up straw with white powdery residue was located on the back seat floorboard where the arrestee was sitting.
With a whole bunch of other trash on the floorboard. Everybody went to jail. He just picked me up to give me a ride to the store, and I wound up going to jail for some straw on the floorboard of the car in the back seat.
All right, we'll enter a not guilty plea on your behalf. And did you want the public defender, or are you going
Yes,
to get
ma'am, I need a public defender.
PD appointed? The paperwork you filled out wasn't complete, so they need you to fill it out more completely, but they'll have you do that at room 105, I guess. All right, thank you, sir. Jorge, could you say your last name?
Whelan, ma'am.
Whelan?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I mispronounced it, Mr. Whelan.
That's no problem, ma'am.
The K sounds like a W? Whelan?
That
Quaylon.
Whelan.
Whelan. Whelan.
It's Portuguese,
so-
so.
You are charged with no driver's license and no motorcycle endorsement. Do you have a valid driver's license now?
Ma'am, at the time of the accident, I had a Puerto Rican driver's license. I just moved here at the beginning of January. The problem was that when I came in December of 2011, I tried to get a Florida license because I was planning to move here.
Okay,
My-
I don't see where that's a problem. Okay, you came here at the beginning of January. Do you have a valid Florida license now?
No, ma'am.
Why
Not
not?
yet. Because I had a suspension in Indiana from 20 years ago.
Oops, then you can't drive in Florida.
I'm working on that. I already pay
You can't
everything.
drive until you get the suspension taken care of.
Yes, ma'am.
So this was charged as a no valid. It should have been charged as a driving while license suspended, so you're lucky for that part of it. Mr. Sandor, your recommendation?
Your Honor, the state's offer is an adjudication of guilt. It's payment of a $200 fine for count 1. The state would dismiss count 2 as a plea today, and no new crimes. These conditions be completed within the next 180 days. If he fails to provide proof that he's completed all of these conditions, the state would ask that he spend 29 days in the Lake County Jail.
You going to accept that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that takes care of that one. Then, what did you have on your windshield?
I had I painted just like 3 days before that eagle on it.
The kind you can see through or not?
Yes, you can. Well, it was black with openings, but the top was completely open. I got a picture.
All right, show me the picture. There's-
Well, I took it off already.
Oh, never mind then. All right, so now your windshield's clear.
Yes, ma'am.
You swear or affirm it's clear?
Man, I got a picture when I took it off.
Can you see that, Mr. Sanders?
The same day that he stopped me right there in front of him.
How'd you take it off if it was painted?
I took a razor blade that I had in the back of the motorcycle and scraped it.
All right, I'll dismiss it with a judicial warning. You can't have anything that obscures your view. And why are we dismissing we're dismissing the no motorcycle endorsement?
Because he's playing to the no DL.
Okay, you need to get it, you can't drive anything in Florida, any motorized vehicle, until you get a valid driver's license.
Yes, ma'am.
After you get a valid driver's license, you can't operate a motorcycle unless you get a motorcycle endorsement.
I'm already,
Okay, I'm just saying.
yes, ma'am.
And then no proof of insurance. You didn't have any insurance on this motorcycle?
No, ma'am.
All right, very bad. You don't have to have insurance on a motorcycle?
No.
Oh, then I'll dismiss that one with a judicial warning also. But if you don't have the insurance, you have to wear a helmet, right?
Or you have to have health insurance.
Judicial warning. All right, I'll dismiss that one with a judicial warning also. All right, thank you, Ms. Angie. So if you'll write up the first one, it's yellow sticky, I think, but I didn't double check to make sure it was all on there. Mark Tanner to the microphone, please. Good morning, Mr. Tanner.
Good morning, ma'am.
Mr. Tanner, you're charged with a no driver's license.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
26.
And you still don't have a driver's license?
No, ma'am. After I turned 18, I was not really worried about getting a driver's license.
Right, your license got suspended because you had to pay a payment plan in Polk County and you
Yes,
didn't
ma'am.
pay it?
I'm currently working on that.
How about if we give you 3 months? Do you think you can come in with a valid? Is that going to change anything, though? He knows he didn't have a driver's license, so it's not going to change anything. But we could do the thing $100 with a valid license, or...
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Sandor, could you give us your recommendation with that as part of it?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's offer was actually to amend this to a duelist since he does have that suspension from 2008 in lieu of a no DL.
Okay, you're going to change it to a driving while license suspended, so now I have to give the habitual stuff. If you get 3 driving while license suspendeds or DUI or any combination in a 5-year period, Tallahassee will suspend you for 5 years.
Yes, ma'am.
The state is amending this from a no driver's license to a driving while license suspended.
Okay.
So this is 1.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't get any more.
No, ma'am.
All right, Miss Angie, we're going to have to talk through this one. The state's amending this to a duelist. We're saying $200 fine or $100 with a valid driver's license, and 6 months to take care of it. And if you don't take care of it, it's 29 days in jail.
And no new law violation.
And no new law violations. Thank you.
.34 subsection 2.
Yes, ma'am.
And he has to be printed now because we've changed it to a duelist. All right, good luck fixing your license. And then bring the proof to the traffic window because it will save you $100. William Herbert, please. After Mr. Herbert is Christopher Lane. Mr. Herbert, you are charged with possession of a suspended license, I think is what it says. And I wrote back in October, I will dismiss this with a valid driver's license.
You said valid Florida ID or driver's license.
Court will dismiss with a valid driver's license is what I wrote. That's my writing, and that's what I wrote. Why didn't you get a driver's license?
Because I currently have a 2-year suspension on getting a license. That is why you said a valid Florida ID and or driver's license.
I didn't. I wrote just a valid driver's license. It's in my writing. All right, let me look at what you have here. You have a 2-year suspension for tobacco, but we can change that. That doesn't,
One of them, Your Honor. He has a 2-year drug revocation as well, and a tobacco.
but he's eligible for a hardship license already on that one too. So you're eligible for a license,
I
at
did
least
not know that.
a hardship license right now.
I do not know that but I mean, I got what I could when I went to the DMV and I got mine ID. That's all I could get. That's what they told me.
Okay, Mr. Boone, 2 things. Can you show him what's written right there? And I'm gonna circle, this shows, those 2 circly things show he's eligible right now to go get his license.
even know what that says.
Right there, sir.
Yeah, I can't read that.
Court will dismiss with valid driver's license or must reappear. Okay? And right here. You're eligible for a license after 6 months. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, you keep looking back at someone. To whom are you looking in the back?
The same person who was here with me last time. The same person who? My girlfriend. The same person who was driving the car when they told me that I couldn't have my permit on me.
Okay, none of that made any sense. All right, Mr. Herbert, when do you plan to get your driver's license?
Well, now that I know that I can get it, I guess as soon as I can.
I'm going to continue this for 3 more months. And if you, well, I don't know that there's any point to continue it. I guess we should just go ahead and sentence him now. And we'll just give a reduced amount if he gets it. Because I continued it from October already.
Your Honor, the state's offer at this time is an adjudication of guilt, payment of a $100 fine, and no new crimes to be completed within the next 180 days. If he fails to complete these conditions, it would be 10 days in the Lake County Jail.
And why is it just $100?
It's because it's possession of a suspended license. He may not have known that he couldn't have that as an ID, so the state's doing a reduced offer already at this time.
And now he has an ID, so we may have had a discussion about if he...
I don't remember myself, Your Honor.
Well, that's my writing, so I mean, that's not what I put on the court sheet, and we handed him a copy of the court sheet. Had he gotten his valid driver's license, he wouldn't have had to come to court. We would have just dismissed it through the traffic window. Since he has an ID and it's legal for him to carry that around, can we still dismiss it?
The state's fine with that, Your Honor. Though we would encourage him, now that he knows he can get a license, to try to do that as soon as possible.
Could you make a copy of this, please, and give him a copy of it? Do you want to just copy it from this or print it out? We're going to give you a copy of what I just showed you. You have to take classes and whatever you have to do to reinstate, but you're eligible to go get a driver's license that is only a permit for a year and a half more.
All right.
But you can drive on it to work, to school, to court.
I was not aware of that. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll get you a copy of that, and we are dismissing it. Defendant is present. Christopher Lane to the, and then Mario Mendina is next. Mr. Lane, how old are you now?
18.
Did you get arrested on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you show up in court when you were supposed to?
They sent some papers to the address that was on my current ID, and
Which is what they're supposed to do.
yes, and
Your
I,
job to make sure the correct address is on your driver's license or ID.
I just moved down here, so I was in the process of getting that changed, and they sent it to that ID, that address on that ID, which I have gotten fixed.
All right, you're charged with driving with no license on September 28th. Were you arrested?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then what you're saying doesn't make any sense, because when you got out of jail, they would have given you your court date.
No, they said that my parents were with me at the time, and they told them and me that they would contact us about a court date.
Okay, wait, this is this newest one, never mind. So-
They never gave me any paperwork or anything like that.
Here's a copy of the ticket, which says he was to appear in court October 17th at 8 a.m.
This is your ticket. Told you right there, October 17th.
I never received it.
But this is your copy, that's your signature.
I never got any, they never handed me anything. My parents were there, right there at the time, and they just said they'd contact.
So you never got a copy of the citation?
No, ma'am. They just told my parents that they'd contact them and let them know about a court date.
Well, this says this was, okay, and you're saying sent to the old address. All right, he's here now. Mr. Sandor, what's the state's recommendation? He didn't have a license, apparently, and he was caught driving, apparently.
Your Honor,
And
this
it's-
case offers an adjudication of guilt. It's 20 hours of community service with no option to buy out and no new crimes, all to be completed within the next 180 days. If he fails to complete these conditions, it would convert to 5 days in the Department of Juvenile Justice in the adult pod. And additionally, the Leesburg Police Department.
He's an adult now.
Right, but he committed the crime as a juvenile, so he would go to the adult jail in the adult wing of juvenile offenders.
I'd send him to the regular jail.
And then it would be $140 cost of investigation reimbursement to the Leesburg Police Department. He does also have an open juvenile case with the PD appointed.
All right, Mr. Lane, you're suspended for not appearing when you were supposed to appear, so you can't even get a license if you wanted to. We're going to give you a clearance on that, so you can get a license if you wanted to go get a license.
Yeah, I'd done the online class and just
Okay,
waiting for.
stop. So we would sentence you on driving with no license. We would give you the clearance so you can go get a license. Do you accept the state's recommendation?
Yes, ma'am.
Except it would be the adult jail, not the juvenile jail. And it would be, Miss Angie, this would be 10 days Lake County Jail, suspended. It'd be 10 days in jail if you don't do what you're supposed to do. Be 10 days in jail. I lost my list. 20 hour. How are we supervising the 20 hours of community? Oh, with the suspension.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, 20 hours of community service with no buyout. So if you don't bring us proof of the 20 hours of community service, I think within 180 days, no new law violations within 180 days. And if I don't have those, or if you have a new law violation, you go to jail for 10 days. Did you get all of that? All right, we'll get you your paperwork in just a moment. And we want to give him his clearance, okay? Don't leave till you get your paperwork, including the clearance that will let you go get a driver's license. Mr. Medina?
Medina? Yes.
Mr. Medina is charged with driving with no license.
Está acusando de estar manejando sin licencia de conducir.
Does Mr. Medina live on Palmetto Street?
¿Usted vive en la Palmetto Street? ¿En la calle?
No.
¿Dónde?
Es otra dirección.
It's another address.
Es 7320 Ganado.
It's
No,
6320.
that's okay, we don't need that. What's his birth date?
¿Cuál es su fecha de nacimiento?
El 30 de agosto del 1990.
Del 90. On August 30th, 90.
Has he ever lived at Palmetto?
¿Usted en algún momento ha vivido? What is the name, Your Honor?
Sí.
Again?
Palmetto Street,
¿En algún
P-O-L-M-E-L-O.
momento ha vivido ahí?
Sí.
No. Yes.
Mr. Sandor, did you have that record also?
I have one prior from 2008, Your Honor.
Tienen un récord.
Well, here's another record. And the one from 2008 isn't on there, so now we have several priors.
Parece que hay varios récords.
Miss Annie, could you tell him he does not have a driver's license in Florida?
Conducido del estado de la Florida, señor.
No.
He cannot drive in Florida.
No puede estar manejando.
Yo lo sé, pero
I do know that.
It looks like this is the third time he's been caught driving.
Evidentemente es la tercera vez que lo agarraron encontraron manejando
Sí,
sin
yo-
licencia de conducir.
Yo no estaba manejando, simplemente
I wasn't
iba yo al
driving.
trabajo y porque
I-
ese día no tenía yo quien me llevara y tenía que cumplir con mi trabajo.
I
ya que
wasn't
dependo de ellos.
driving, but on that particular day, I was just trying to get to work, and I didn't have anybody to drive me.
Es que mi
On
familia-
this particular day, it appears he was driving, and it's the third time he's been caught.
La tercera vez que lo agarraron.
Fourth, third.
Third, Your Honor.
It's the third time he's been caught driving. This is jail.
Esto es definitivamente cárcel, señor.
Por favor,
This time, 10 days.
Yes, Your Honor, and the state would ask that it be amended to a Willis
Please.
based on the suspension that's on this driving record.
Please, my family depends on me. I could lose my job.
You were not allowed to drive.
No podía estar manejando,
sí,
señor.
yo no estaba manejando, pero ese día no tenía quien me llevara.
I
Yo le
wasn't
digo que
driving, but on that
dependo de
day,
él.
I didn't have anybody to drive me.
Miss Annie, you're not allowed to drive, not even on that day.
Yo entiendo,
I
pero
understand.
no volverá a pasar, se lo suplico.
If you're caught driving again, it's going to be 20 days in
Si lo
jail.
agarran otra vez manejando, señor, van a ser 20 días.
Sí, lo acepto.
I understand.
All right, Miss Annie, if he wants to turn himself in next week so he can make arrangements at work, we can do that.
Si usted quiere, lo podemos dejar que usted se entregue entonces para la semana que viene. Entonces usted puede hacer arreglos con su trabajo. ¿Desea entregarse la semana que viene o quiere ir ahora? ¿Qué hacemos?
No sé si quise yo pagar con trabajo o con dinero.
Could I pay maybe,
Depende
could
de
I
mi
work it
trabajo.
off or?
Miss Annie, it's jail time.
No, señor, es
This is the third time he's been caught driving.
claro, señor. Es cárcel.
The fine didn't stop him.
Aparentemente la multa que le dieron antes,
I'm hoping the jail time will convince you not to drive again.
esperemos que entonces tiempo de cárcel eso lo que lo convenza.
La próxima semana, entonces.
¿Cómo?
La próxima semana me puedo entregar.
Okay, fine then, I guess next week.
Which day?
¿Cuál día? Esta es la semana que viene. ¿Cuál día?
Ah, el 7.
On the 7th.
On February 7th.
February 7th,
Okay.
7 de febrero.
He's going to turn himself in February the 7th by 7 p.m. at night.
Antes de las 7 de la noche tiene que
If he doesn't turn himself in, it's 59 days in jail.
59 días si lo tienen que ir a buscar.
If he turns himself in, it will be to do 10 days.
Si usted se entrega es para cumplir.
Was he arrested at the time he was stopped?
Lo pararon, lo detuvieron, lo llevaron al cuartel.
Yes. Okay. He gets credit. He gets credit for the day he did when he got arrested.
Tiempo que usted
So he has 9 days left.
o sea que entonces tiene que cumplir con solamente 9 días. Okay, that's fine.
Right. He needs to understand that if he pleads today, it could affect his immigration status.
¿Sí o no?
Sí.
Yes.
He understands.
¿Lo entiende?
Sí.
Yes.
All right. He'll turn himself in on February 7th, and if he doesn't do it, it's 59 days in jail. And here's his print sheet, and we're changing it to a Dwillis. Did you get that part? Could you please tell him if he, well, I don't know if I need to tell about habitualizing.
Could you address the accompanying TR case, Your Honor?
Got it in my head now. Failure to yield to emergency vehicles.
Usted también, señor, falló en...
Okay.
I just sent that to my brother.
He didn't move over to let an emergency vehicle go by. If he pleads no contest to that, instead of having to pay the $166, the jail time will pay it.
No, yo pago.
Okay. That's good.
All right. All right, Mr. Sandor, we took care of everything there?
Looks like it.